Hello and welcome back to the Big Lab podcast. Today's episode is about something I think every single one of us has felt, sometimes quietly in the background, sometimes crushingly obvious, and that's loneliness. Now, you might be listening and thinking, I'm not lonely. I've got people around me. I've got family, mates, colleagues, even people I message online every day. And if you're honest, maybe you've felt that strange emptiness, that sense that you could be in a crowded room but feel completely unseen. That's loneliness. We're living through what experts are calling the loneliness epidemic. Rates of reported loneliness are at a record high across every generation. It's not just the elderly anymore, it's young people, men in their 20s and 30s, parents, professionals, everyone. And the irony is that at least digitally, we're the most connected we've ever been. Billions of social media accounts, endless ways to send a message, drop a comment, hit a like. Yet study after study shows digital interactions aren't filling the void. If anything, they're making the void louder. So in today's episode, I want to explore three things. Why loneliness is on the rise right now in an area of supposed connection. What loneliness actually does to us mentally, emotionally, and physically. And how we can rebuild genuine human connection with ourselves, with others, and with community. I'll also share a personal story of my own struggles with loneliness because I think it's important to break the stigma and admit this isn't just some abstract social trend. This is the lived human experience. And finally, I'll give you a practical exercise, something you can try today to start breaking out of the loneliness loop. So grab a drink, settle in, and let's talk honestly about why we're more isolated than ever and how we can reconnect. The phrase loneliness epidemic isn't just a catchy headline, it's being used by the World Health Authorities. The World Health Organization has described loneliness as one of the great public health challenges of our time. The US Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, has called loneliness a public health epidemic, comparing its health impact to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's how serious it is. But let's define it. Loneliness isn't the same as being alone. Some people love solitude. Solitude can be nourishing, creative, peaceful. Loneliness, by contrast, is the gap between the connections we want and the connections we actually have. It's the pain of missing intimacy, missing friendship, missing belonging. And this epidemic isn't confined to one age group. Yes, older adults often experience loneliness due to bereavement or reduced mobility, but research now shows that Gen Z and millennials report some of the highest levels of loneliness. Even teenagers with hundreds of online friends report feeling isolated. So why is this happening? Well, part of it's societal change. Fewer people are marrying or marrying later. Birth rates are falling. Communities are more transient. People move for work, live in cities where they don't know their neighbours. Religious institutions, once community anchors, have declined sharply. Local sports clubs and shared rituals have dwindled. So the structures that used to naturally provide connection, family, neighbourhood, church, lifelong work colleagues, have all weakened. And at the same time, digital technology has filled the gap, but it's a poor substitute. Social media gives us a breadth of connection, hundreds of people in our network, but almost no depth. You can have 1,000 followers and not one person you can call in a 2 a.m. crisis. Sherry Turkle, an MIT professor, captured it well. We're connected, but alone. That's the essence of the loneliness epidemic. Not just being physically alone, but feeling emotionally unseen, unsupported, unanchored. And if that wasn't enough, loneliness is not just an emotional state, it's also deeply physical. When we think about loneliness, we often reduce it to a feeling, sadness, emptiness, boredom. But scientists now understand loneliness as a biological stressor, something that changes how the body and brain operate. A landmark meta-analysis by Julian Holt-Lunstad in 2015 found that chronic loneliness increases the risk of premature death by 26%. Now that's on par with smoking, obesity, and physical inactivity. Why? Because loneliness isn't just in the mind, it activates the body's stress systems. It increases cortisol. When you feel socially disconnected, your brain interprets it as danger. You're more alert, more defensive, and more likely to see threats. Cortisol levels rise, and over time, that damages organs and weakens immunity. It can also lead to poor sleep. Lonely people report more restless nights of poorer sleep quality. And with that, immune function. Loneliness actually reduces the body's ability to fight off infection. And then there's cognitive decline. Older adults who are lonely show faster rates of cognitive decline and dementia. On the psychological side, loneliness is strongly linked with depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and addiction. It becomes a vicious cycle. Loneliness makes you feel bad about yourself, which makes you withdraw more, which makes you more lonely. Mother Teresa once said, "The most terrible poverty is loneliness and the feeling of being unloved." It's a poverty not of material things, but of connection. And just like material poverty, it creates suffering that can compound over time. And yet, here's the paradox: we've never had more tools to connect. So why are these tools not working? It almost feels absurd. Billions of people are on social media platforms. You can send a message to anyone, anywhere, instantly. Why are we still lonely? The answer lies between the difference in quantity of connection and quality of connection. Social media offers infinite quantity, likes, comments, messages, but it rarely offers deep quality, eye contact, shared vulnerability, physical presence, and emotional attunement. Think about the difference between sending a haha reaction to a meme and sitting across from someone who really listens to you. One scratches the surface, the other feeds the soul, and yet many of us spend hours a day on the surface version. Other factors include decline of physical community spaces. Coffee shops replace pubs, online forums replace town halls, we gather less in person. Then there's a rise of mobility. People move cities or countries for work, leaving old friendships behind, therefore roots are shallow. Delay of family formation, marriage and children are coming later, if at all. And hyper-individualism. The cultural narrative says, be independent, don't rely on anyone. Connection requires interdependence, which feels weak in this framework. Masculinity norms. For men in particular, vulnerability is often stigmatized. Many men over 30 report having no close friends. And there's a subtler piece: social comparison. Online, you see a curated version of everyone's lives, smiling, partying, succeeding. If you're feeling lonely, it only deepens the wound. Why does everyone else have it together except me? We end up with a perfect storm: less physical community, more digital replacement, more individualism, and more comparison. The result is a society full of people who are connected in the shallow sense but starved in the deep sense. And that's not sustainable. Because as humans, connection is optimal. It's needed for survival. So, what can we do? How do we push back against this loneliness epidemic? First, let's acknowledge there's no silver bullet. No single app, habit, or hack will fix loneliness. But here's 8 practical ways to begin reweaving connection into our lives. Be intentional about friendships. Friendship used to be the byproduct of shared life circumstances, school, church, lifelong jobs. Now you have to be intentional. Schedule time, reach out. Don't wait for connection to happen by accident. Quality over quantity. Research shows that having 3 to 5 close, reliable friends dramatically reduces loneliness. You don't need 300 acquaintances. You need a handful of people who truly see you. Micro moments of connection. Psychologist Barbara Fredrickson talks about micro moments of love. Small bursts of connection, eye contact with a cashier, a shared laugh with a stranger, a warm greeting. These add up. They remind you that you belong in the human family. Join communities and groups. Humans thrive in tribes. Join a sports team, a book club, a volunteering group. Shared activity accelerates bonding. Practice vulnerability. Surface level interactions don't cure loneliness. You need depth, and depth comes from vulnerability. That doesn't mean trauma dumping. It means daring to share something real. Actually, I've been struggling lately. Vulnerability is magnetic. It invites reciprocity. Reconnect with yourself. Sometimes loneliness comes from disconnection with your own values and desires. Solitude can be medicine if it's used for self-reflection, journaling, creating. Don't just fill silence with scrolling. Use it to know yourself better. Limit digital replacement. Social media is fine in moderation, but it should supplement, not replace real connection. If you spend 3 hours online and feel emptier afterwards, notice that. And then finally, rituals of connection. Create consistency. Weekly dinners, Sunday walks, monthly meetups. Rituals provide rhythm and reliability, which deepen bonds. Connection is built in layers, so start small and build upwards. I want to share a bit of my own story because I think it's easy to talk about loneliness abstractly, but harder to admit personally. There was a time, not that long ago, when I was surrounded by people but felt profoundly alone. I had colleagues, acquaintances, people I'd see at events, but I didn't have depth. I didn't have people I could be fully honest with, and I felt ashamed of that because I thought, I shouldn't feel lonely. I've got people around me. What's wrong with me? That shame only deepened the loneliness. Eventually, I realised connection wasn't just going to happen. I had to take responsibility. I had to risk being the one to reach out, to invite, to open up. So I started small. I called old friends, I initiated meetups. I tried being more honest about how I was really feeling instead of saying, yeah, all good, when it wasn't. It wasn't instant, but gradually I built a circle, a handful of people I could be raw with, and that made all the difference. That experience taught me that loneliness isn't always solved by adding more people. It's solved by cultivating the right people and daring to be seen. Before we close, I want to leave you with a practical exercise that you can try today. Step 1. Think of one person in your life, maybe an old friend, a family member, a colleague you trust. Then reach out to them. Send a message, but make it specific. Instead of how are you, try I was thinking about you. How's that new job? Or do you want to go for a coffee next week? When you see them, dare to share one honest thing, not a complaint, not a rant, but something real. For example, honestly, I've been feeling a bit disconnected lately. Pay attention to how they respond. More often than not, they'll meet you with their own honesty. That moment of mutual vulnerability is connection. Do this once a week with someone. Over time, you'll notice that the web of connection strengthens. Loneliness thrives in silence. Break that silence with one small act. So where does this leave us? We're in a paradoxical age. Billions of connections at our fingertips, yet soaring rates of loneliness. But the lesson's clear. Connection isn't about quantity, it's about quality. Loneliness is not a personal failing, it's a signal, a biological signal that something essential is missing. Just as hunger tells you to eat, loneliness tells you to connect. The antidote isn't more scrolling, it's more presence, more honesty, more courage to reach out, even when it feels awkward. As the Surgeon General said, loneliness and isolation represent profound threats to our health and well-being, but the flip side is that connection represents profound medicine. So I invite you this week, take one step, call someone, join something, be honest with one person, create one micro moment of connection, because in the end, we don't need more followers, we need more friends. Thank you for listening. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment, share your experience, tell me one way you're working on connection. This has been the Big Lab Podcast. Until next time, take care and take connection seriously.